afternoon. What you're seeing right there in the center of your screen is right just near that area of rotation. So a little bit of a lowering, not seeing anything that's tornadic at this point, but something of concern just because it's right in that area of inflow. You still see that little bit of a curve on that storm as it continues to track to the northeast. So we'll be watching that very closely. Have had reports of golf ball size hail with that cell that continues to track northeast. So that's going to be arriving in New Franklin with some hail and strong winds, as well as heavy rain by 2:39. Fayette at 2:46, Higbee at 3 o'clock, and Hallsville by 3:06. So I want to clear this off. We'll go back down off to the south and west where we still have a couple of other severe thunderstorm warnings. This one is in effect until 3 o'clock. That includes parts of southern Pettis County and parts of southern Cooper County. So this cell that continues to track northeast, that one also moving at around 60 to 65 miles per hour. So we'll go from the center of the storm and track it into Cooper County. That's going to be arriving at Smithton by 2:44, Tipton by 2:59, and Pilot Grove by 3 o'clock. And that is a severe thunderstorm warning. All of these have been producing some large hail, at least up to $half size. Another severe thunderstorm warning for central Benton County. That one is tracking just north of Warsaw, but if you're in Warsaw right now, you're within the warning. Also tracking that cell that's just outside of our viewing area. That one's getting its act together. So if you're in Warsaw, not quite in the clear just yet, that's going to be heading in your direction. So we'll go back up and take a look at this tornado warned storm, also quickly moving through northern Sheraton County. And this is going to continue until 3 o'clock, that tornado warning. That cell is quickly going to start moving into Macon County, too, at least the western portion. We'll put a new track on that as, of course, as these are tracking very quickly across the region today. Our atmosphere very ripe. If you've been outside today, it's been so warm and humid, too, with these storms moving in. So now the updated timeline for Brookfield around 2:46, Marceline by 2:48, Bevier 3:08, and about 3:12 for Macon. It does look like the area that would be rotating would likely be moving north of Macon. I don't see it tracking directly into Macon unless it takes more of a southerly track. So there is a chance you could be in the tornado warning, something we're going to be watching here very closely as these storms rapidly continue to develop. We'll take a wider view just to show you the big picture. These are all the cells that we are tracking this afternoon. Have active weather across parts of Illinois and Iowa today, too. This whole system tracking across much of the Midwest today. I want to go over to Storm Track forecaster Sawyer Jackson. He's been keeping an eye on the radar with me this afternoon. Also keeping an eye on the busy National Weather Service reports that are coming in. Are you getting any new information on any of these storms?
Yes, so we have definitely been seeing those reports for hail right now, $half size hail, or that's going to be about one quarter of an inch. So again, we are tracking that same storm that has been moving over to Macon County right now, crossing over I-36. So that is kind of the main thing that we are tracking right now. We have had some reports of some wall clouds over from that is going to be in Putnam County and then Cooper County. We have a Cooper County deputy reporting a wall cloud. No rotation though. That could be the cloud that we were tracking earlier today. Yes, that is the one that Chris was tracking currently. So we do have that wall cloud that was bringing maybe that kind of little chance of that tornado. But again, we haven't really seen anything from that yet. It does look like it is. Looks like it is lowering a little bit. We are again still tracking that system. We don't have any sort of warnings yet for that specific system, at least not to my knowledge. We have not seen anything. But again, we are still tracking that rotation in that upper cloud over by Chillicothe, going over Brookfield right now. Yes, the weather chat has been very crazy. Been keeping track of that. We have some, again, those reports of we have one come in right now in Cooper County, reports of hail quarter size, so a little bit smaller, but still enough to do some damage. But yeah, that's kind of what we're tracking as of right now. We'll keep you updated on everything, making sure to keep track of this current weather. Definitely keeping track of these systems that's moving over Fayette right now, as they have been kind of developing and strengthening over the past couple of minutes. So that is kind of what we are tracking as of right now. I'll toss it back to Jessica.
Thank you. Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and take a track of all of these individual cells just because they're all kind of on their own. So this means that there's a good chance if you don't see a storm today, you're going to be in severe clear, just because these have not formed into one large line. However, if you get underneath one of these storms right now, my main concern would be large hail and the threat of a tornado. Winds certainly strong, but we're not seeing any reports of straight line wind damage, just because you'll see these are supercell thunderstorms. They're all each rotating and each have their own core. Usually we're tracking those long lines of storms that bring a large push of rain and strong winds. That's not the case with these cells today. So I'm going to take a new track on all of these. We are in our continuous coverage right now because we have a severe thunderstorm warning for several counties just to the north of Columbia, also in a tornado warning for northern Sheraton County. It's for this cell that's tracking on the northern portion of the county. That's going to be tracking just outside of our viewing area, but then eventually getting back into Macon County. But look how quickly this has moved across areas across northern Sheraton County, up just to the north of Carrollton. Quickly moving off to the north and east. So we'll get a closer look here. This is getting closer to Marceline and Brookfield. I think if you're in Brookfield, you should be okay, at least as far as the tornado threat would go. You're likely seeing some very heavy rainfall right now, but the area of rotation right now moving over Cunningham. We'll go ahead and take a look at that. We'll put our wind shear back on. It's just to the south of Cunningham, going to be tracking right up toward Marceline. So if you're anywhere within this warning polygon, this box that's flashing, that's where the tornado warning is until 3 o'clock. And you want to be in your tornado safe place, and that would be anywhere underground. If you have a basement, a crawl space, or if you don't have that, take cover in a closet or a bathroom in the center of your home, even a hallway that's away from windows. And that would be the best place to stay until this warning has passed. We have about 26 minutes until this warning expires, but I'm expecting that possibility of even more tornado warned storms this afternoon as we continue to track these very strong cells in a very ripe environment for severe weather. So we'll put a new track on this area of rotation. I've centered it out where we're just tracking where the rotation would be. So if you're in Marceline, you have about 18 minutes until that arrives. Bevier by around 3:13, Macon at 3:18. So areas along Highway 63 probably getting under the severe threat within about the next 30 minutes. And as I mentioned, these storms are somewhat isolated, so there's also a chance you might not see any severe weather today, and that'd be great news. But if you get under one of these cells, going to be watching for strong winds, a possibility of a tornado, and some large hail. Let's go back down to the cell that we've been tracking. Our photojournalist Chris Bryant has been tracking this storm for at least the last hour and a half or so as it moved out of Pettis County. Have a little bit of rotation there. Let's go back over to the radar just to show you what that looks like. We had a very good picture of that lowering there that's just off to the west of New Franklin, tracking up to the northeast. So if there's any rotation in that, it's north of New Franklin right now, just to the south of Fayette. But if you're in Fayette, likely you are experiencing some very heavy rainfall and some large hail too. That hail core right there just south of Fayette. And let's take a live look there. This is a look at that storm right now. Where is Chris moving right now? What direction? Do we know? Looks like we've got some very heavy rainfall too as he's... Okay, so we've got Chris now. He is in New Franklin, moving north there out of towards Fayette. We are looking at that cell, the possible lowering right there in that area where we're seeing the inflow into that storm. So that's likely the strongest storm that we have on radar outside of the one that's under a tornado warning right now. Again, just seeing some weak rotation, but here in pink and black, that is where we're seeing the possibility of some hail. You see that very heavy rainfall there off to on this side of your screen. That's coming down very hard. Likely some hail mixed in with that. This warning is in effect for the possibility of golf ball size hail. So certainly a possibility. We've had reports of that with just about every cell that we've been tracking so far this afternoon. So we're going to keep an eye on this one very closely as it moves across parts of Howard County into the next half an hour or so. This would put it into northern Boone County very soon. It looks like we have a new severe with thunderstorm warning that includes Randolph County, Sawyer.
Yes, we do have we just had a news weather report of someone saying there's going to be a tornado warning coming for Howard County. And then we do have, on that Trenton storm, we are seeing slow rotation, weak lowering. So those are kind of the main things we are tracking. But yes, they just said that they are dropping that tornado warning for Howard County.
Okay, so the cell that we have been watching, the one that Chris has been on, the one we're keeping an eye on right here, that's going to be under a tornado warning. It looks like that rotation has just picked up too. My radar showing you that cone-looking structure there. That's indicating where we have a rotating updraft. So that is going to be coming soon. Also have a severe thunderstorm warning that was issued or extended into southern Randolph County. Likely going to be watching this as it gets closer to northern Boone County as well. This goes into effect, or at least is in effect, until 3 o'clock for Randolph County. Would not be surprised if the National Weather Service in St. Louis is keeping a close eye on this particular storm too as it gets closer to north central Boone County. So at this time, I don't think Columbia would be in this warning, but areas north of Columbia would need to be on guard. They just issued this tornado warning. This goes until 3 o'clock. That's for Howard County at this point. So what's the forward speed on that, Sawyer?
Right now it's looking at about 55 miles per hour, almost 60 miles per hour.
Okay, so it hasn't changed a whole lot. So what Chris was showing us was the lowering of that storm. So certainly have some rotation there. As you'll see, we'll get a little closer. Actually, I'm going to step off a second and take this off for you so we have a better look at where that rotation is. Sometimes these pop up. They give us a good idea of where the updraft is, but sometimes can get in the way of what we're trying to track. So I'll take that off, and then we'll jump back on and give you a track of that. So again, this is a tornado warning for Howard County. That continues until 3 o'clock. Also have the threat of some large hail. We've been showing you this cell. It has some definite rotation on it. Have not seen anything on the ground at this point, but certainly keeping an eye on that as well. Also want to continue to remind you, we also have a tornado warning for northern Sheraton County. That's right on the border there. Going to be tracking into Macon County. That also goes until 3 o'clock. So we have 2 active warnings. We're going to be on the air at least until 3 o'clock as these storms continue to track through mid-Missouri. We're going to go ahead now and turn on the velocity. This is showing us where the rotation would be. This one looks like it has a little bit of an uptick here. We'll go ahead and take a look at that. It's off to the southwest of Marceline. I'm going to circle that area of rotation for you. Luckily, not as populated up here in northern Sheraton County, but if you're in Marceline, that is going to be heading in your direction very soon. So if you've not gotten into your safe place yet, please do so now, as that is going to be quickly arriving. I'll take a new track of that. We'll put it up to the north and east at around 55 miles per hour. Marceline, you have about 10 minutes until this rotation arrives. Still tracking that at around 3:13 for Bevier. So that one is in effect until 3. Let's go back down to our Howard County storm. This one looks like it has been a little bit healthier as far as the rotation goes. Again, we're still at this point about 75 miles or so, maybe a little bit more from the radar site. So still getting a pretty good look at that rotation. It's just to the north of New Franklin. And how about we turn on the shear? That might help us out a little bit better. Still a little bit murky there. I'll go back over to the velocity. That's probably our best bet in showing you that rotation. So just to the south of Fayette. If you're in Fayette right now, likely getting some large hail. New Franklin, the rotation is passing just to your north. So I want to take the wider view because this is going to be moving into northern Boone County, likely approaching Highway 63. The forward speed on this one is about 55 miles per hour. So we have not seen too much of a change in our storm speed so far today. This could arrive in Hallsville by around 3:08 as well as Sturgeon. So it's quickly trucking in your direction. Anywhere in northern Boone County, you're not in the warning just yet, but it is something that's probably going to be coming down the pike if we hold on to that rotation. So I want to clear this off. And I want to get a closer look at some of the roads that are going to be impacted by this rotation. Not too many communities outside of Hilldale. If you are in Hilldale, the rotation is likely going to be closer to you here very soon. The new scan putting that rotation right along Highway 240 and County Road 421. So anywhere in those locations, you definitely want to be in your safe place as this is passing over right now. Let's get a closer look at the largest road network here would likely be Route J. That's going to be in the path of this. Harrisburg, likely going to be extended into this tornado warning. That's where the rotation would be. It looks like in Alaskan it has weakened just a little bit, but if we go back over to radar, we still have that definitive curvature. So that's where we look for that rotation. And that's something that Chris has been watching out there in the field. If we can take him just to get a look if he still has that storm up, kind of passing some trees now, that looks like it's on the right side of your screen. See if he gets past some of these. Looks like some heavy rain there, even in the foreground, as the storm continues to track into the area. There we go, getting a little bit better, clearer view of the storm, looking very dark. Also have some very heavy rainfall. A little bit harder to tell where that lowering would be, which is some kind of good news, but also could be wrapping up a little bit with some rain. So definitely want to take this storm seriously as that continues to move through central Howard County. So all of these storms will have the threat of a tornado. We have 2 active tornado warnings right now. Also tracking the threat of some very large hail. We're seeing a pink and black here on the radar just to the south of Fayette. That's a strong hail core. We've had reports of anywhere from $half to golf ball size hail with the storms that have been moving through. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look. We actually have a picture of some of that hail coming in from Pettis County. This is that same cell that moved through, and that looks like it's probably somewhere between around $half to ping pong ball size hail. And just look at the sheer amount that this is putting down. It almost looks like the ground is covered in snow as these hailstones come down. So that's also going to be a significant threat as we have all of these ingredients that we've been tracking the last several days for these storms to grow very tall upwards, allowing those updrafts to be stronger and therefore making the hail a little bit larger too. So to reiterate, if you are just joining us, we are on the air because we are tracking 2 cells that are under tornado warnings until 3 o'clock. So at least 17 minutes is what we're going to be on the air for as these storms continue to track through mid-Missouri. These are singular cells, so if you're kind of in between these, there's a good chance you might miss the severe weather threat altogether. So that would be good news. But getting under these storm cells will bring the threat of strong winds, hail, and of course the possibility of a tornado. These cells that are moving out of Sedalia into northern Morgan County, not quite as concerning, but we are still in severe thunderstorm warnings there until 3 o'clock. That includes southern Cooper County and northern Morgan County. That one goes until 3:15, so that looks like that was just extended. Seeing a little bit of rotation in that one, not quite as strong as what we're seeing up to the north. I want to put a new track on this cell particularly just because it's our strongest one with the most hail that's moving through central Howard County. So I'm going to clear some of this off, and I can do that over there. And we are looking at this cell that's going to be tracking into northern Boone County. Actually, before I do that, I want to go back over to Sawyer Jackson. Are we getting any reports from St. Louis Weather Office that they're going to extend this at all?
We have gotten some. We are seeing that we have some warnings until 3:30 for that is going to be Boone, Audrin, Monroe. So that's going to be extended until 3:30 for that severe thunderstorm warning. That's kind of the main thing that we have been seeing. That's only been the really report that we have gotten as of now.
And it looks like that just popped up. So that is good news. So they're thinking this is going to start trending downward a little bit as far as tornadic threat. So that's that same cell. But still want to be on guard. If you're in northern Boone County, this is the cell that's under a tornado warning at this point. Main concern, if this starts to downgrade a little bit as far as rotation, would still be large hail, up to $half or golf ball size hail, as this cell tracks quickly into northern Boone County, southern Randolph, and then into Monroe and Audrain counties. So I want to put a new track on that, and that is going to continue tracking up to the northeast. We'll start it right from that area of rotation. So if you're on the northern side of this line that I'm about, oh, I've got the wrong tool up. Clear that off. If you're on the northern side of this line that I'm about to draw, it would mainly be a hail threat for you. But if you're right along the center, we're going to be looking at that rotation threat as well. So I'm still expecting this to move into Sturgeon sometime between around 3:04 and 3:08. Mexico between around 3:22, and Paris by 3:25. So that is that tornadic storm that could continue to bring the possibility of large hail and strong winds up to 60 miles per hour. And we've had reports confirmed of up to golf ball size hail with that storm. That's the one that we have actually had live eyes on. Also want to take a look here at our other tornado warning. It does include northern Sheraton. However, the threat is moving out of Sheraton, so I'm not quite as concerned at this particular moment, but this is going to be moving into Macon County. So that will keep us on guard and likely on air if that continues to get extended into Macon County. We'll put a new track on that one too. That is going to be moving out of the Marceline area up just to the north of Macon along Highway 63. That's going to be tracking out of Marceline in the next few minutes. Up towards Bevier, we've been telling you right around 3:15, so you still have about 30 minutes before this storm arrives, and about 3:27 for La Plata. So that is going to put it probably around 3:15 to 3:25 along Highway 63 in Macon County, and then we'll continue tracking that out of our viewing area shortly thereafter. So let's go ahead and take a back out look. We have active warnings right now. We have 2 tornado warnings. You'll see here flashing in red. Those continue until 3 o'clock, and those are for northern Sheraton, likely moving out of Sheraton into Macon County, also for central Howard County. That is the strongest cell from my eyes here. On the radar right now. It's moving out of Fayette. We'll go ahead and take a look at the velocity again just to show you. There's a little bit of that rotation there. We were seeing that darker red meeting that lighter red. Usually when we see green and red together, that's indicating a little bit stronger rotation. But since we're kind of in between our St. Louis and Kansas City radar, we'll probably get a better picture of this as it crosses into Boone County. In fact, while we're at it, let's go ahead and look at the St. Louis radar. Take a look at that right now. Still have a little bit of those bright greens indicating those strong winds. We might even be able to query it here, even though we're kind of far up above the ground. Yeah, a little tough to tell just because the radar's shooting up so far, this far away from that St. Louis radar. But still, certainly some strong winds and some large hail. Might even be able to take a look at that. Let's go ahead and... That's the precipitation type. Let's go ahead to this. This is what we call this is going to show us our severe weather threats. So we'll break it down here in green, that's rain. Off to the south of Higbee, here in purple, pink, and black, that's indicating large hail. So we're at the very high end of that hail indicator. That would be just south of Higbee. Trying to get some of the roads there for you, just south of Bunker Hill, Pumpkin Center. That's where we're seeing the largest hail at this point. Right along State Route A is where we're seeing the largest hail in this storm. Not seeing as much rotation. We'll go back over to the velocity. Let's go back over to Kansas City radar because we're just a little bit closer versus the St. Louis one. This is where that inflow would be, where the storm is picking up a lot of that energy, where the rotation would be, also have that strong hail core just to the east of Fayette, right along County Road 102, between Minnie and then north of Rileysburg. That's where we're seeing some very heavy rainfall. That's where we also have our tornado warning at this point. So we're going to be crossing out of the tornado warning here very soon into the severe thunderstorm warning that's in effect for northern Boone, southern Randolph, and most of western Audrain County and southern Monroe County, all under that severe thunderstorm warning that continues until 3:30. So the threat is there for some rotation. My main concern, though, as this tracks out of the tornado warning, would be the possibility of some very large hail up to golf ball size. So while we're on here, also want to take a look at some of these other cells that we've been watching this afternoon. Have a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings there until 3 o'clock. That's for most of central Cooper County for that cell that works through, and for northern Morgan County. That goes until 3:15. That's for the threat of large $50 to golf ball size hail and 60-mile-per-hour winds. So that's kind of an overview of the storms that we're tracking. I want to give you a track of those while we're on the air right now, as these are going to be moving into some of our central counties, eventually towards Jefferson City, but these actually might track to the northeast of Jefferson City. So you might be in the clear for a while. Lake of the Ozarks, not looking too bad right now either, as most of the cells off to the southwest are not severe, not even producing too much lightning at this point. But the one north of Versailles, we'll put a track on that. All of these still moving around 55 miles per hour. That one is going to be tracking into Montauk County up along Highway 50, up towards Stover at 256, Tipton by 313, California at 322, and Russellville, if that continues to hold together, at 327. We'll go back up to this northern storm that's just to the south of I-70. This one we'll keep an eye on because if it continues that northeasterly trajectory, there's a chance that could impact areas between Columbia and Ashland. So we'll put a new track on that one. That's also quickly moving to the east, making it a little bit easier to track these storms this afternoon. As I mentioned, yeah, right there between Columbia and Ashland around 3:31. So we're going to be watching that zone along Highway 63 in the next 40 minutes. So we'll clear this off, we'll take a wider view. This is going to give us the whole look of mid-Missouri, and actually we'll put a loop on it too. This is of the last half an hour or so. Just to show you the storm direction and mode. Still have a couple cells trying to get going out to the southwest. We're going to have to keep a close eye on those too, just because it has been quiet across the southern half of our area today. Still have plenty of instability for those storms to feed off of. So we'll continue to watch those. Off to the north, also have active severe thunderstorms across far northern Missouri and then back into central Illinois. We want to go back to our storm track forecaster, Sawyer Jackson, who's been keeping an eye on the Weather Service reports for us this afternoon. Are you seeing anything new in the last couple minutes?
Of course, we are still getting those wind reports. Just got one that came in for Adair, Lane, and Macon for about until 3:30. Those severe thunderstorm warnings, that comes along with those 1.25 inches for that hail, wind at up to 60 miles per hour. We have had some stronger wind reports. We had a gust of 74 miles per hour. That was over at St. Joseph, so not as close to us, but again, we do still have those reports rolling in. That current storm that is over Fayette, moving into Moberly. We did see that we got a report in that it doesn't really look like this is going to be producing any sort of tornado as of right now. It was kind of more or less, it was a radar indicated, but it seems like this storm is going to be kind of just more or less that hail. But again, we are seeing those reports of that quarter, that $50 size hail up to ping pong. We've gotten a lot of ping pong size hail reports. We have, let's see, we just got a report in Lynn County. We are seeing clearing skies in Brookfield after that storm passed through. And for Jefferson City, sounds like we're just getting kind of some clouds, not really anything as of right now. They have really been staying out of the clear, but as we just heard that there is just going to be those kind of clouds. But yeah, really it has just been kind of mostly hail reports. Quarter-size hail report just came in over these couple of systems. We haven't gotten too many tornado reports, but those radar indicated storms, they have been moving at about 55 to 60 miles per hour, so they are definitely booking it. So we are going to keep on keeping a track on this and making sure that everything is staying calm. But of course, we are again seeing these chances for storms still moving across through Columbia, more or less that Boone County area. We haven't really seen any of these storms over in Columbia yet. But yeah, I'll toss it back to Jessica.
Yeah, so that storm you just mentioned, that tornado warning continues until 3 o'clock. So just a couple more minutes, we're going to stay on the air until that expires, or if we have any further threat of a tornado. All of these cells kind of individual. So as we've been talking about all afternoon, not expecting a widespread threat of damaging winds or any severe weather, but if you get underneath one of these warned cells, my main concern this afternoon is going to be large hail and gusty winds. We've also had that threat of rotation. We have not seen any reports of a tornado on the ground at this point, so that's all good news. But here, we want to go through, I'm going to pause the radar and we'll take a closer look at all of these. These cells that are tracking through central Cooper and northern Morgan County, those are going to be moving into parts of Montauk County, southern Boone, and maybe even northern Cole County if they continue their trajectory. So we're going to be tracking these into some highly populated areas. So if you're seeing this right now and you want to have some time to get your car in the garage, in a parking garage or covered area, that might be smart with these storms that continue to bring the possibility of large hail. So if you're anywhere in Columbia, Ashland, even California, and have some time, might want to move your car under some protection just because we've been seeing plenty of hail reports. So it looks like our cell that we were just talking about that has that hail threat has moved out of the tornado warning. So we're likely going to send you back to programming here soon, but I want to take a track of all of these before we get off, just because this particular cell has me concerned for that large hail. We still have that strong hail core that is just on the border there of northern Boone and into Howard County. That's moving towards Clark and Sturgeon very quickly. So we'll put a new track on that. That's still going to be moving at around 55 miles per hour. So we'll take the core area of that storm and we'll track that into Monroe County. Sturgeon still have that timeline of around 3:06. This continues to track towards Paris by around 3:30 and eventually up into parts of southern Monroe County for that cell. Moving out of the tornado warning, losing some of that rotation. I actually want to show you that too as we take a look here at our velocity. We'll pull that up out of, actually let's pull it up out of St. Louis if possible. That is going to be bringing us a better look at some of that rotation rotation in that storm. So that's probably weakened a little bit. It does look like we're not seeing as organized of a signal there. We'll go back over to the wind shear. Still a little bit of that rotation just off to the southwest of Sturgeon. So keep that in mind. If you are in this severe thunderstorm warning, let's go ahead and treat it like a tornado warning. Try to stay inside on the lowest level of your house, away from windows. My main concern is going to be large hail as this quickly moves through this area. We'll go ahead and move back off to the north. We still have that tornado warning that has just moved out of Sheraton County, so that's good news, but I'm still seeing a little bit of rotation here. We have a severe thunderstorm warning for northern Macon County. That goes until 3:30, so weakening the rotation a little bit, lowering the tornado threat, but we still have the possibility of some large hail. So I want to go back over to the velocity, and that's showing you a little bit of that. We're getting a report of some hail damage in Cooper County. Do we have a picture of that, or is that just a report? No picture at this point. So likely still seeing some large hail with that cell. Probably the one that just came through, I'm going to assume, and we're also watching that cell that's off to the south. I want to go back over to the radar too. This will give you a better picture of where those hail cores are. Central Cooper County, seeing that strong storm that's moving through just south of Pilot Grove. Saw hail, yeah, that makes sense for sure. As those cells continue to track through, main concern would be large hail. So these will be moving to central Boone County. Let's go back over to the radar for St. Louis. I'll turn that back on. And that's going to give us a track of these cells that are getting closer to more of our heavily populated areas. So let's take that one that's get a little closer there, and we'll take that as we get closer actually, let's go back out to our wide view to start off with, just to show you. So we have these two cells that are going to be moving out of Cooper County into northern Montauk, and the one that's moving out of Morgan into southern Montauk. Those are the ones that'll bring the hail threats for potentially north of Jefferson City and into the Columbia area. And the cell that we're keeping a close eye on here, moving out of that tornado warning, that's been producing quite a bit of large hail. Looks like we might even have what's called a hail spike here. That shooting area there of green, that's indicating where the radar beam is slicing through that storm, showing us where we have the strongest hail in that black area that's just south of Moberly. So if you're in Moberly, not going to be impacted by this severe threat, but areas towards Clark, north of Sturgeon, definitely getting some hail there. So I want to go back down to these cells right here. We'll make kind of a bigger track just to give you an idea of where both of them are going to go, because they're generally both moving at around the same speed and same direction. So if we let those go, probably going to be moving towards Tipton here very soon. Boonville going to get some heavy rain again by 3:08. New Franklin has a hail threat again by around 3:10. Columbia right around 3:37. Ashland at 3:45, and Hallsville getting underneath one of these cells again by 3:49. So let me clear this off again, and we'll take the wider view. We still have that tornado warning. That's going to be expiring here shortly. Looks like we have some new info from Sawyer.
Yes, we just got information that. Well, yes. So the tornado warning is going to be expiring in Howard Mo for a second. I thought it was going to be extended, but yes, it is going to be expiring around 3. So that is going to be not a threat. But we do have reports of golf ball sized hail. I don't know if we have a picture of that yet, but that is a report. Here we go. We got Chris with that golf ball sized hail there.
Wow.
So definitely able to cause some damage as that system moves through. But yes, that tornado warning has expired. If we come back to the radar, you'll see that as we move through, it'll no longer be there. So that's kind of the main report that we have as of right now.
Great. So all good news there. But yeah, Chris was just showing you some of that hail that's coming out of that storm that we were tracking here, that we are still tracking through very far northern Boone County into parts of Monroe and northern Audrain County. We also are going to be keeping an eye on the position of forecaster Nate Splater. He's going to be setting up here very shortly. He'll have reports for us this afternoon should we need to come back on the air. But at this point, we are going to wrap up here. I want to show you the severe thunderstorm warnings that we still have. We have a warning that goes until, this one is until, I believe, 3:30. That one is for northern Macon County. That is for the threat of large hail as that storm continues to track off to the northeast. Also going to continue to closely monitor this storm that has been producing golf ball size hail. That goes until 3:30. That's for northern Boone, parts of western Audrain and southern Monroe County. And then back off to the south, still have one severe thunderstorm warning. That cell is moving out of Morgan County. That's going to expire here very soon too. So our threat is looking like it's lowering a little bit now. So we just mentioned Nate Splater is out on the roads this afternoon in the storm tracker. He is on Highway 60. Did you say 63? He's on Highway 63 heading north at this point. Some very heavy rainfall at this point. He's heading up towards Randolph County where that cell is, where we're seeing that larger hail. So we're going to keep a close eye on this particular storm and any others that continue to develop this afternoon. Our tornado threat on our current storm cells lowering, so that's good news. We still have the threat of severe weather for areas generally to the east of Highway 65 up until about 6 o'clock. That's when I'm thinking right now most of those storms are going to start moving out of our area. Just a couple more hours that we're going to be dealing with this. But at this point, we do not have any more tornado warnings. We're going to keep a close eye on the situation. We have Chris Bryant out tracking storms for us this afternoon, and Storm Track forecaster Nate Splater, Sawyer Jackson here with me in the studio. So we've got our entire team watching the area for all of this severe weather. We'll let you know if we have any reports of damage, and you can keep an eye on the storms live with radar on our website, abc17news.com. We'll be back if we have any more new information.
This has been an ABC 17 Storm Track Weather Alert Day update.